Welcome back. I'm Barry Craig. The region is about to celebrate the 17th annual Calling All Colors program. And with me today are two of the program's prime movers, the Reverend Gregory Waldrop of Fountain Avenue Methodist Church, and Martha Argotte, the Human Relations Specialist at Lourdes Hospital.
Yes.
Close enough. Tell us about her. Greg, you've been with it since the very beginning. You joined about 6 years ago.
Yes, correct.
Tell people about the program who know nothing about it.
Well, it's a program really sponsored and initiated and put together predominantly by the Interracial Women's Group. My part of it has been in support of the great work that the Interracial Women's Group have done for these several years. It's aimed by this private folks from across the region to help our school children know the substantial diversity that's in this area. Yeah, it's one thing to sort of know about diversity, generally speaking, and be open to it in ways that are possible. But what Calling All Colors does is bring together students in the middle school and elementary schools from across the region and help them to see the substantial, significant diversity that is here in our region, in our areas. And we have all sorts of presentations from folks here in the region about the various cultures, the various religions, the various kinds of language groupings that are actually here in Western Kentucky.
Now, you obviously, though, to brag, I will brag on Greg a little bit, you've been involved in the Interracial Men's Group for how many years?
Well, we've been having the Interracial Men's Group since a few years after the Interracial Women's Group. We thought it was doing such a good work. We gathered together after a planning session of the Paducah City Schools, and we realized we needed a group that gathered people across race lines in regular and repeated informal ways. And so we've been together for probably 18, almost 20 years now together. Mm-hmm.
One thing I would like to do, if it's okay, is to brag on our alma mater. There was an article in the Paducah Sun some months ago that Mayfield High School has the most ethnically diverse football team in this area. Mm-hmm. A number of Hispanic ball players as well as African American, white, and it's amazing, growing up in Mayfield like we did, right, how the town has changed so much. What motivated you to join, and then I'll ask Greg too, what motivated you personally to get involved in this group?
Originally, I was asked to just come and see what the Interracial Women's Group was, and I just really got intrigued and interested in working together. We are so diverse, whether it's our professions, our religions, our ethnical backgrounds, and it's a group of women that have fun. They like to have fun, but they're also looking at what things they can help in the community, and that's what I'm about. I mean, it's what we do a lot at Lourdes too when it comes to diversity, because I chair the diversity program at Lourdes, and it just seemed to all fit in together. Mm-hmm. And the Calling All Colors was just something I definitely had to get involved.
Mm-hmm. Martha's been a great addition as well. She's helped to take the whole program organizationally up to the next level. Mm-hmm. We've had a great 5 or 6 years since she's been really taking a lead in it. And
well, tell us what the upcoming program will be like. Just take us through the schedule, some events, any and all.
Well, I can give you sort of the nuts and bolts of it. We gather students from all the elementary schools and middle schools. I think it's 4th, 5th, and 6th graders is what we've sort of targeted.
And the date will be?
Date is the 12th of November.
Okay.
Next Friday.
Yeah, and it comes around sometime in the early part of November. Usually that's the date we've sort of hit upon every year. There's a lot of preparations that go on all year round, but it comes together in the first part of November in order that the work and the really good accomplishments of the day can be scattered throughout the school year. It's got a cumulative process that tries to go back into the various schools and impact them. But anyway, we'll gather students together from all of these schools. We'll have a word from the superintendents of both school systems. Some get acquainted kind of times that get us connected and interacting across the school divisions. Most of the kids know each other in other places and ways, but we help that happen. And then we immediately divide up into smaller groups, again, with groups from each school in each of the groups, and go to various sessions about cultures or languages or religions that are here in the area. Then we come back together, do a little bit of planning. Again, I think one of the geniuses of this program is that we ask the group of students who come from a particular school to work with their counselors and other helpers there at the school to provide a program like what we're doing for their particular school, to do something that would help their school understand and know and appreciate the diversity that is around us, and that are a part of us in all sorts of ways.
Now, this will be held at which school?
It's actually held at the Lone Oak United Methodist Church.
Ah,
Yes, they are very gracious in allowing us to use their space. And the children actually rotate, there are 7 different sessions, and the children in their small groups rotate through 4. So what we like to do is, for instance, some of the students might have rotated through the Hispanic culture or the Chinese culture. We have one on Kwanzaa, one on Judaism. Then they get together back in their groups and they compare which 4 did you attend and which 4 did I attend. And the aim is that they come up with a plan, and the 4-H group for the UK Extension Office is wonderful in helping implement them, giving them that leadership skills that they need. So they're not only learning about diversity, but they're developing leadership skills. And they come up with a PowerPoint presentation on how they're going to implement diversity plans at their school. And the top 3 programs, the schools are able to earn monetary prizes. So that way it helps them continue their diversity efforts. And this is all possible because of the donations from our community.
it's a day-long program?
It is a
Yes.
day long.
8:30 to 1:30.
So they come in on school buses or however
Correct.
to get there?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
each child gets a T-shirt,
Yeah.
and it's just wonderful because they then can wear their T-shirts out in the community, and people ask, well, what's calling our colors? And they can talk about it as well.
And typically, how many students would you have for this?
Oh, somewhere
We've- Yeah, we've had over 200 students in the last few years. They're from both city, county, parochial, and we've even had students from Massac County and homeschool children attend.
Very interesting.
Right.
The program, it reminds me of a song from the South Pacific. It talks about prejudice. You have to be taught. You have to be carefully taught. It has to be drummed into each little ear. That just sort of reminds me of this. And I think that obviously when children are born, they're colorblind. And this is, I think, a very good program to get with kids at an early age. How young are the youngest ones?
4th graders. It goes from 4th grade to 8th grade that actually attend the sessions, and then we ask that high schoolers come in and use the role of facilitators.
Right.
So they help in the facilitation of the program, so they're also involved. And they're like mentors to the younger students. And like I was saying earlier about the leadership, it helps not just the younger students, but the high schoolers as well.
Yeah, and you're talking about a great motivator to have these older teens there that are supporting and committed to this. Really, the younger students really look up to them, and it's a great eye-opener for all of them.
Describe, if you would, just some of the programs specifically. What if I'm a 4th grader from elementary school here in Paducah and I went to this, what exactly would I see?
For instance, the Hispanic culture, you will learn that there are 21 countries that their primary language is Spanish. You will learn which countries those are and what their capitals are. You will learn some of the origins of the words and how they're connected to the English vocabulary. An example, chocolate is spelled exactly the same as chocolate, so there's not that much difference. If you go,
And that comes from what, the Inca, not the Incas, the Aztecs, isn't it?
Aztecs.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So you learn a little bit about that, but each session is about 20 minutes in length. We try, with the attention span and everything, we try and make it to where it's also interactive, so children pay more attention, because we don't want children to feel like they're back in a classroom, because they'll tune us off. So we make it very interactive.
Right.
We've had like Chinese American, where they learn some of the symbols that are used in the alphabet in Chinese. They also learn how to use chopsticks, and they practice picking up Cheerios and different things with the
Oh,
chopsticks.
that would be fun.
The Quilt Museum does a wonderful presentation with language and colors and spirals. So how do you connect all those? I'll give you an example, the color blue in all different languages. But ultimately, you can say it so many different ways, but it's still blue. And that's just, goes back to, we might look differently, we might, have different religions, or we might come from different, but we're all created equally. And we all have unique gifts and talents. So it's that appreciation.
One of the values of that I can certainly see is, as you are both aware, we Americans are not terribly inclined toward learning other languages, that other people are expected to learn our language.
Right.
And I think one of the neatest things, and you're talking about the color blue, to be able to say blue in French and German and Spanish and so on, is a great motivator to get kids interested in that. And of course, you were on the program earlier, we were talking about the Spanish Heritage Program, about the different accents and that would be fun to be able to pick up.
Yes.
And you were saying you could tell someone from Mexico or say Chile by the accent, and I think that would be a lot of fun to learn. And I think it would stimulate kids to want to take a language, be it Spanish or French or whatever. Would be great fun. So,
and a great benefit.
That sounds like fun for an adult. I would.
It is, and we always look for adult volunteers to help. So, if anyone has some free time, they can come next Friday, November the 12th, Lone Oak United Methodist Church, anytime between 8:30 and 1:30. We provide lunch to the volunteers, and they can learn and have fun.
Well, now the lunch, is it ethic foods for lunch, or pretty much?
The students have their own sacked lunches from school. We provide lunch for the volunteers, and that's from donations.
Right.
So.
Right. That'd be an idea. You could have some.
It would be.
Well, and some of the other things there, some of the other interactive sessions include food and that sort of thing. I know that at times we've had African drumming as a part of the occasion. I know I've been asked to do international folk games, dance of all sorts, and so there are a lot of different ways that we involve kids in the important work of awareness about the folks that are right around us, right here with us.
Now, obviously, the cultures would be obviously African American, Spanish, Chinese. Any others that, I guess, Korean maybe?
No, we do some on religions, like we have some on Judaism. We also have someone coming in to talk about Ghana. We have someone talking about Kwanzaa, the holiday, and the differences. So we'll be discussing a little bit about Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, because they all fall around the same time frame.
Right.
Then we have someone doing a program on moving forward. How do you put everything you've learned into practice in your everyday? When you go back to school and that child next to you might look different or might practice a different religion or they might speak a different language, how do you overcome certain barriers? And then the Quilt Museum has a session that they do as well. So every year we try and change the sessions, look for different presenters. So if anyone's interested in presenting, we also have one this year on Native American, which is very interesting.
Yes. Now, are you all the coordinators of this, or how does this?
Again, I'm mostly a support person. I'm help to provide. I help with some in the beginning, in the opening, icebreaker kind of time, but I also try to get particularly men volunteers around for the various sessions and all the important work, sort of herding work and supervisory work that it takes to pull off this in great shape.
What are some of the other programs? That's a great one. What else do you all do in the sessions?
In times we've explored the Hindu religion. I know we've explored the Baha'i faith.
Had some
Again.
Baha'i folks on the program recently. That's not a very common religion in this part of the world. How about Muslim?
We haven't had anyone that I'm aware of. I've been coordinating the program for 3 years, but that's something that we're looking forward. Like I said, every year we get a subcommittee and we try and find speakers. The main thing is trying to find someone that's willing, because everyone has jobs and has busy schedules, and it's a full day. You know, they are going to have to take a full day off to be involved. So if we can find a speaker, we'll be more than happy to, you know, enlighten the children, definitely.
Yeah.
Any significance the month of November, or to just evolve into that?
Evolved to that. Again,
It works well with the scheduling, like Reverend Waldrop was saying, you know, with the implementation, because the students have to go back to the school to implement them. In the spring, they have a lot of testing. We don't want to be involved, you know, interfere with any of the testing time frame, because we do want most of the students to attend. I mean, we've had over 220, but if we can get more, the better, because the word spreads out. So we try and pick a time frame where it's not busy with the schools, and we usually leave it up to the schools as well.
It's it also works. You know, this is a group of people. It's not funded by any group. It's not granted money from any governmental agency or anything. We take private donations from all sorts of folks who have commitment to diversity, all sorts of businesses that give themselves to this, and so it sort of works out to be the right time to do that as well. We have, as Martha mentioned, a great support from the 4-H people from the county extension office, and in fact, this program was an award-winning program, is an award-winning program several years for the kind of ways it involves so many different segments of the community, and the ways that a local group has taken on for ourselves the real work of sharing and celebrating the diversity that's among us.
Do you ever get kids who come back later and say how much fun they had in the program, how great it was? Say a kid is in the 4th grade and now the kid's a senior in high school. Do you get that?
Yes, actually last year it was so heartwarming, because some of my high schoolers that were working as facilitators had been involved in Calling Our Colors when they were in middle school. So they were able to share with the younger students their experience when they were their age and what it's meant to them and the different things that they've been doing throughout the years when it comes to diversity. And they've enjoyed it. We do evaluations and we try and make sure that what works we keep doing. If there are any suggestions from the students, we take that into consideration, because we want them to, you know, be interested in this kind of event.
Right. And my own sense about certainly the evaluations bear it out, but about the kids' interaction in this, they appreciate it. They understand there's been a lot of work done here, prepared, and a lot of work to ensure that they're engaged in it and active. This isn't a series of lectures, and for that age group, it's a great, I think, exercise in experiential learning. And my experience is they are energized by it, almost to a student. And even the adults that are a part of it, it's a very energizing.
Well, it seems very much in keeping with the biblical phrase, cast your bread on the water. And as I tell my students, sometimes it gets soggy and sinks, but not always. It comes back to you. And this obviously is very much a part of your faith. Obviously a Methodist, Roman Catholic.
Yes.
How does your personal faith fit into this?
Well, for me, it's like I said earlier, we were all created equally and we all have unique talents and gifts. So to me, I look at everyone the same. It doesn't matter, you know, their way of thinking, what position they have, how much money they have, how they dress. None of that's important. I like to get to know a person for who they are and their character. So that's why I'm really pushing this event and why I'm very active and involved in it, because it takes from a child being really young to understand that. You know, our culture is the sum of our upbringing, and sometimes it's very limited. So we need to broaden those horizons on our youth, because they are our future.
Yep. For me, one of the synonyms I would give for salvation is oneness and reconciliation. Those words are really at the heart of what I think has happened in Christianity and what God has worked in Christianity through Jesus. And so these kind of events are really at the heart of what I understand salvation to be. Anywhere there's brokenness, discord, anywhere there's people that don't operate in harmony, it's a violation of that basic notion of salvation and refusal of this gift that Jesus comes to bring in so many ways. So for me, it's not just one of the things that I do, it's really at the heart of what I see my work.
Just thinking of the two of y'all, your backgrounds are so different. You grew up in New York City, which is one of the most cosmopolitan cities on earth, and Greg and I are from Mayfield, which is not really cosmopolitan.
Not as cosmopolitan.
Not as.
That's a
good word. It is the pearl of the purchase. Yes, that is true, but it's not exactly cosmopolitan.
Well, it's in better shape now that the Woolridge monuments are
Yes, thank goodness they're back. Our claim to fame is back on its feet, so to speak.
Right.
But I think that's really interesting that we've got this good old Western Kentucky fellow here and someone from the Big Apple working together on this that's interesting.
Well, in terms of that oneness, I thought that was about as good a witness to God as I could make, that a Mayfield boy ends up in Paducah loving Paducah people and places. And
really
I have.
is.
That's a pretty big witness to the work,
it
power
is.
of God, I'll tell you.
And what do your relatives back in Mayfield think of that?
They tolerate me.
They tolerate you.
They tolerate
Yeah, right. Again, it sounds fun to me, and I want to have you back on the program with Carolyn talking about language. We had a really good program about roots of words, and kids must love that. That is really cool. And I think, again, just something as simple as a color. How do you say blue in French and in English and in German and all these other languages is really cool. And
there's almost always a painting or a picture or something they've put together in response to those kind of activities. That there's a lot of take-home stuff from this, physically and emotionally from.
Well, the physical part is I was thinking about the chopstick instruction, which I can't do. Our son is really good with them. I don't know how he learned it, but he did. And we go to a Chinese restaurant. He gets the chopstick. I was like, I want a fork. I don't know how to do that. But is there a chopstick instructor who comes to show you?
Yes. Actually, someone that has a Chinese background, she'll go and they make them the easy way for children where they will band the top so they don't separate so much on the children when they grab them.
Oh, really?
But they're actually taught how do you separate the chopsticks, how you grab them with your fingers, which fingers, and how to, move them.
Manipulate, yeah.
Right.
And then they're put in groups where they actually have to pick up different objects using the chopsticks.
A Cheerio would be tough. That'd be really tough.
Well, no tougher than rice, so.
But
it
imagine
would.
adults. How much fun adults are having trying to practice.
It would. No, we were in a Chinese restaurant years ago, and he said, "Try it, Dad." And I would starve to death.
Takes too long.
It took too long to learn. And I think that's wonderful. And again, the idea of stimulating interest in language is terrific.
And some of the Chinese leadership has come from West Kentucky Community and Technical College here, the Chinese
yes, some of
folks
the
that
professors.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is a wonderful
Yeah.
program. We've been doing this for I don't know how many years, but I think it's terrific when you can bring a professor from China to Paducah and expose kids to someone who is from a different country. The courses are very popular here, and I've really enjoyed talking. In fact, I've had them on the program as well, talking about and I know it's a cliche that the world is getting smaller, but it really is. You think when we were kids in Mayfield,
Right.
how I don't know if there
How
was
far away that's.
It is.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really
yeah.
is. It was such a not cosmopolitan area, and it's fascinating to see how this area has changed. it's a lot of fun. One of the things I love about your hometown is it is just so diverse. I love New York, my students know if I won the lottery twice, I would move there because where I want to live would require twice winning the lottery. Central Park West, I've got it all picked out. But it's a wonderful city because it is so diverse. I mean, you can travel the world and not leave the city limits of New York,
Right.
And that's fun. Anything else you all would like to add to that? We're running short of time, but you all just jump right in. I always like it when the guests talk more than I do.
Well, I would love to say that if anyone wants to volunteer their time, we'd love to have volunteers next Friday, November 12th, from 8:30 to 1:30 at the Lonoke United Methodist Church.
Which is on the highway just south
Yes.
of the town.
Right.
Correct. We're always looking for donations. So any contribution, private or corporately, I mean, we always accept because, again, it goes back to the students. Each child gets a T-shirt. They get monetary prizes for the program so they can implement their plans at their schools. There's a lot of legwork that gets involved in putting this, workshop together.
Right. And I think
Let's get a contact phone number then.
Well, if anyone has any questions, they could call me at Leeward's since I am the coordinator, and my office number is 444-2837.
And I think that's, my number is at Fountain Avenue, United Methodist Church, 443-1724. Again, it may be that it's too short notice for some people to get in on it this year, but this is an ongoing event. The Interracial Women's Group meet monthly.
Yes.
Interracial Men's Group meet regularly, not always monthly, but we meet regularly. If you're interested in and have energy for some of that or just want to explore it, I know that folks would be welcome at both
Yes.
groups. In fact, we'd love to have a larger.
When would you all start planning for next year's program?
Now,
Ah,
Interracial Women's Group meet the third Tuesday of every month at 12 noon at the McCracken Public Library.
so your next meeting
So
will be
our
sort
next-
of a post-mortem on this
Yes.
one, that sort of thing. Yeah, and that will be true of the men's group as
Yeah,
well.
we'll be pitching in very quickly.
That's great. Now that may be we may be going more for next year than that because as you
Right.
said, the time is short. So and the time is short on our program. Thank you all for coming in.
Very
And,
Thank you so much.
We have the telephone contact numbers for you all to call and volunteer. And the chopstick session I'm afraid I would bomb out on that, so I probably would skip that
You
one.
might be
So.
surprised.
I might be
How
surprised, but I
much
probably
improvement you could make.
well, that may be. But see, you're a man of faith, you see. That's the answer to that. So thank you all for joining us. I'm Barry Craig. My guests were the Reverend Gregory Waldrop and Martha Argotte of Lourdes Hospital. We'll see you next time.